All right, Student Senate, if you'll go ahead and start finding your seats, please. I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, with that, we'll move into first roll call with Nathan.
Al Abdullah. Al Madani. Beasley. Belina. Betancourt. Bond. Booz. Bowers. Burke. Carlson. Clark. Clements. Coggeshall. Colasico. Frederick. Gallardo. Gillen King. Gillespie. Glasscock. Hamlin. Hines. Huffman. Jabin. Jonak. Kelly. Kerperin. Kidd. King. Koger. Coleman. Lomshek. Lux. Matos. Meinhardt. Oxner. Orzakowski. Pelton. Payton. Phillips. Preuss. Rivera. Rodriguez. No, she's not here, sorry. Reichert. Seidel. Slichter. Smith. Snyder Ben. Snyder Blaine. Spellman. Wallace. Ward Kelly. Ward Shalin. Watkins. Whitmer. And Zimmerman. There are 45 senators present, 6 excused, and 9 absent. And then now we'll move into directors. Belk, Bruner, Chiefchi, Cohen, Croslow, Dunfield, Gammon, Gertzen, Heisey, Hotfinger, Hornung, Horton, Karmali, Kulkarni, Land, Lundeen, Nunez, Penny, Polson, Steiner, and Wilbrandt, and then Riffle and Chumland. And then there are 9 directors present.
Okay, with that, we'll move into first open period. Our first open period speaker is Ethan Erickson.
Also living proof that a K-State degree can take you places, because I'm an alum as well. So you guys are on One's called the GU budget, and that's essentially, when we say GU, that means all of our state tuition dollars and our state appropriations. Those are our flexible dollars. For the most part, dollars that we get from the state, as well as our tuition dollars, are our flexible uses, so that we can generally operate the university and do a lot of the activities that you might normally think about a university doing. We also then have what's called our restricted use budget, and that's going to be revenue dedicated for very specific purposes. So we are a research institution, we're an R1 institution, and so we do a lot of federal funded research. We also go out and do a lot of private funded research. We also, because we are a land grant institution as well, we have our federal land grant dollars that come to us to serve the citizens of the state through our extension activities as well. So we have two different buckets. For K-State, it's our GU bucket and our RU bucket. So when you hear a lot of conversation on campus about what's happening with the budget, if we're declining in enrollment, or the state comes out and cuts our budget, we're really talking about our GU budget. And that's our most flexible and operating piece, and funds a lot of the functions of the university. So for scope, here is the FY20 budget broken down into those two areas. So we've got our state appropriations and our student tuition, and that's our GU bucket for about $404 million for FY20. And then we have our RU bucket, and that's going to be all these other pieces out here. So let's talk about the state appropriations line. That's going to be dollars that to make our Manhattan campus. It's going to be dollars for our Vet Med Center. It's going to be dollars for our Polytechnic Institute out in Salina. It's going to be our land grant mission. The state also provides those dollars to fulfill our land grant mission of providing extension services out to the citizens. Student tuition. That's going to be your tuition dollars. It's going to be our Vet Med student tuition dollars. It's going to be our Polytechnic student tuition dollars. So all of that bucket sort of rounded up into there. That's about $404 million for our operating budget next year. Then we have gifts, grants, research, auxiliary enterprises. That's essentially our housing and dining, our parking, those areas of the university that are self-funded by their operations. Service clearing, that's a fun little thing that we do where we basically have a unit that charges other units on campus, and so we sort of cycle those dollars through to pay for things. So if you're in the IT department, you might have to go perform a service ticket to another entity on the campus. You're going to charge them. We cycle that through the service clearance piece. Local agencies, that piece is the athletics budget. It's also a couple other little pieces in there, but primarily that's the athletics budget as well. So for FY20, our operating budget is estimated at about $915 million. So that's it's down a little bit. We've shrunk a little bit as an institution in response to our enrollment decline, things like that. So that's kind of where we stand this year. So that's a little bit about trends. I kind of mentioned it earlier. We've declined a little bit as an institution. What you're seeing up here is the black line is all of our state dollars that come to the institution to operate us. The purple line is our tuition dollars. So what you're seeing here is a 10-year trend of how those dollars and mix of dollars have changed for us as an institution over that period of time. If you go all the way back to 2009, our mix of funding by the state versus student tuition was about 60% state, 40% tuition. You fast forward to today, it's almost exactly opposite. This isn't a trend that's unique to K-State. It's a national trend as a result of the recession that hit in 08 and 09. Other factors, you've seen state support for universities, public universities, decline over time. And then the burden of operating universities and attending those institutions has been provide the best educational experience. It's difficult to do that.
Time.
I'm sorry.
Time for the speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Chair Oxner. Been moved and seconded to extend the time for the speaker by 10 minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, go right ahead.
If I'm too long-winded, let me know. So those are some things there. So we have salary initiatives. So our tenure track faculty, they have a initiative where as they progress through their ranks, they are provided about a 15% salary increase over that period of time. So we see those cost increases come on, and that's a main driver for some of our increased costs. We've also, this last year, we had some targeted investments that we felt those costs have to be supported in some fashion. So those central costs that are then allocated over to the colleges. And it's also being transparent. A lot of it in the prior system, nobody really understood what it took or what it costs to operate a university or their particular college, what kind of resources they consume from our central service areas. So now we're transparent. We've got all the FY19 and FY 2020 calculations posted actually out on our website under initiatives, under budget models. So you can go out there and look at all the calculations. You can spend a lot of time diving into the materials and trying to understand everything. It would help you go to sleep at night, I think. So that's it. I apologize. I didn't realize it was
Good.
overtime.
Are there any questions for our speakers? Caucus Leader Kidd.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for joining us tonight. I just have a question in regards to the new budget model. So my question is, being someone that works with college education, how does it work for global campus students? So a student that wants to go into elementary education online, it's my understanding that those funds would go to global campus, but they're still utilizing college education resources such as advising and other services.
So Global Campus is not a provider. College of Education is the one that's providing the course. The modality is online. So those revenues flow to the College of Education. They don't flow to Global Campus. There is a fee on the Global Campus tuition. Part of that fee does support that entity. But the bulk of the revenue of the tuition generated goes back to the College of Education. Yeah.
All right, further questions? Chair Booz.
Yeah, thank you for coming out tonight. My at least initial question is on the chart you showed us of tuition dollars and
Sure.
State revenue. So I was interested in why there's this $20 million drop and between 2018 and 2019. Was that only because we didn't raise tuition, or what were the other causes for that?
So that's 2019. That's all enrollment. So we've had, and I don't know that it's not quite 20. It's about 10 million from 245, roughly 246 to 234. So it's a decline in our enrollment. It's recognizing that we've dropped quite a bit of enrollment over time. Our mix has changed as well. So we've dropped in international. So international students traditionally paid that full non-resident rate. That decline then, as one of those students declines, that's roughly about 2.5 traditional resident students. So that's recognizing that decline in enrollment.
Further questions? Granted.
Yeah. So I mean, did most of the enrollment decline then happen in the 2019 fiscal year, or?
No.
Okay.
No. So what you're seeing is a very high level conglomeration of all the changes that occurred. So we've had enrollment declines. We asked for tuition rate increases at the same time. So you get that blend of activity that happens in a chart like this, where you're not seeing everything happen at one point. Yeah.
Further questions? Chair Watkins.
So, at a university level, what kind of policy do you guys have to individual colleges about student fees? Do you guys encourage them to do that? Is there any conversation between the university and the specific college before they try to initiate a student fee or raise it?
The provost would have a lot of conversation with that particular dean that might be interested in a student fee. There's also a very hefty process, and Jensen's nodding his head, in terms of the college then has to interact with a college tuition committee to talk about what the fee might be, what it would be used for, get their college-wide buy-in about what the fee would support. And then that comes forward through the tuition fee strategy committee, and ultimately then has to also be approved by the board of regents as well. So there's a lot of conversation all along that cycle about what that fee is, how much it is, what it's going to support, all along that cycle. Yeah.
Further questions?
Thanks for coming, Ethan. Oh no, I've got one. When talking about budget modernization, with the per credit hour production, so I guess like my first part of the question is, so like would some like units on campus right now actually see like a decrease in their overall budget if they have like low per credit hour production to begin with?
So what we're doing, we've sort of set a. This is why it's called a hybrid. Why we're doing it in a hybrid. We're taking a blend of the incremental, sort of the stable budget, and we're moving towards implementing an RCM. So we're slowly moving into and providing units plenty of opportunity to start shifting their business practices and how they might want to incentivize production over time. But yes, if you produce less, you would receive less revenue. That's the nature of performance-based budgeting.
And then follow up.
Granted.
So with that, I guess like I'm just like trying to wrap my head around this. So like the College of Engineering, I know, has like historically like had like higher like involvement like in some of their classes and departments and things like that. So I'm assuming that like a department like that would get like a budget increase, but then I don't know, something like geology. There's no geology majors in here, right? Would get like a decrease or possibly get a decrease depending.
Again,
on...
that's the whole why we've had a multi-year effort under this. We had a shadow year where basically nothing was changed. We operated under our old model. We showed everybody what the new model would look like. We've moved into a bridge year where essentially everything's been reset. And so units have had a lot of time to sort of think about how do we want to adjust and operate in this new model. And so what we're really hoping is, again, units like geology might have an opportunity to partner and collaborate with another college that and offer an innovative program that drives up that credit hour production overall for everybody.
Any further questions? Oh, time for questions has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Al-Abdullah. It's been moved and seconded to extend time for questions by 5 minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Caucus Leader Burke.
I was just wondering, for the veterinary health center, does that money all go back to the veterinary school and the center, or does any of that money go towards main campus?
Are you thinking like the hospital?
Yeah, like the 22.8 million.
Yeah, that all goes back and is managed by the health center. Yeah.
Further questions? Senator Al-Madani.
It's really more of a function of how we're allocating the dollars. A full RCM would say 100% of our dollars goes out and it's all on a performance basis. One of the components of our model is we take a portion of the tuition revenue and we also take 100% of one of our state line items, state appropriations, and we put it in what's called our revenue center fund. And we provide then sort of stable funding for units over while we're beginning that transition period. So that's where when I mean a mix is we're still providing some stability while units are transitioning to the new model. Ultimately, what happens is there are going to be units on campus that for whatever reason will never be profitable, if you want to say it that way. And that's fine. We're a land-grant institution. We're a university. There might be some areas that we feel are mission and critical for us to provide services either to citizens of Kansas, activities here on campus, liberal arts education. Those are things that we might want to continue to provide even if they don't break even. That's okay. And so we're going to continue to provide some funding. The key piece is going to be able to say what's mission critical and what should be the level of funding that we provide for that stable period of time.
Any further questions?
Did I see my arts and sciences students nodding their heads up there?
All right. Seeing none, thank you so much for coming tonight. Okay, and with that, we'll move into approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve those? Chair Oxner. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved. Announcements for this week is first, IDI access codes again. Nathan reached out to anyone who requested a code who's not yet completed that. This really needs to be done as soon as possible. If you're having any issues finding it, please let Nathan know. But we're ready to, or getting closer to start moving in towards doing that group profile once we get to a higher completion rate. Second, the application for Attorney General closes tomorrow at 3 p.m. If you're interested in applying or have any questions, please contact Peter Moyer. The form's listed there in the agenda. Additionally, I still need 2 members from the legislative branch to serve on the Attorney General Selection Committee. I did it last year. It's pretty chill, easy. If you're interested and available next Tuesday from 6 to 9 p.m., please contact me as soon as possible, preferably tomorrow before Friday, or tomorrow before 5 o'clock. Third, a second order for name tags will be placed on November 22nd at 5 p.m., the week before Thanksgiving. Please fill out the following form if you're interested in a $10 name tag. This includes interns if you all are interested, or any senator, cabinet member, etc. Lastly, as a member of SGA, you all qualified to order a K-State Proud shirt early. K-State Proud is the largest student philanthropy on campus and has raised over $1.3 million over the last 14 years and has kept over 750 students at K-State. When you donate for a shirt, 100% of your $20 goes to the Student Opportunity Award Fund. Order here. The link listed in the agenda is incorrect, but if you go to Nathan's email that he sent this morning, it should be the right one. Proxies for the weeks are Gillespie for Rodriguez, Glasscock for Cruz, Kidd for Cruzel, Oxner for Dowd, Watkins for Carr, and Zimmer for Brinzy. SGA members of the week are Speaker Pro Tempore Nathan Bothwell and Chair Andrew Buse for their leadership chairing Senate last week, and Chief of Staff Polson, Chair Watkins, and Chair Chumlin for their additional assistance in making sure that Senate ran smoothly. Please give them a round of applause. Quote of the week is, "In the face of impossible odds, people who love this country can change it." Barack Obama. Moving through to approval of appointments, is there a motion to consider Resolution 44? Chair Booz. It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 44. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 19-2044, approval of new student senator by Senate Operations Committee. Whereas Dylan Boykin has chosen to resign from the position of student senator for the College of Engineering, and whereas Elizabeth Seidel has the next highest vote total of eligible and willing candidates in the 2019 SGA general election for the College of Engineering student senator. Be it resolved that the following individual be approved as student senator for the College of Engineering, Elizabeth Seidel.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Right, seeing none, is there a motion on this resolution? Chair Booz? It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 44 unanimously. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, Resolution 44 is approved. Elizabeth, if you'll go ahead and come forward and get sworn in. Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of student senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. I will. Okay, and then if you'll introduce yourself, your name, major, hometown, and favorite smell.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Seidel. I'm a sophomore in Biological Systems Engineering. I'm from DeSoto, Kansas, and my favorite smell is cucumber melon.
With that, we'll move into committee chair reports. Are there any committee chairs that would like to give a report? Chair Oxner.
The Special Committee on Rural Students Success met this past Tuesday at 6 p.m. in Hale. That was cool. And we formulated some survey questions about the survey we're going to send out to the entire student body relating the Special Committee on Rural Student Success. And we're going to engage some of those questions. They're in draft position right now, so if you want to see them, feel free to ask me. I'll gladly show you what some of those are. We're kind of changing the verbiage on them and the wording a little bit. Generally, what we're looking for is we're looking to track to see what the graduating class size was for students that are here at K-State and some of the services they've taken advantage of since they have arrived at K-State. One specific question I was asked at one point, if we're going to ask what school district they're from. We're not including that in the survey for privacy reasons because there are students on campus that they are the only student from their unified school district on campus. So we replaced that question with what county they're from. And that's for if they're in the state of Kansas. If they're outside of the state of Kansas, we're not asking what county they came from, if that is clear. So with that, I will yield my time for questions if there are any.
Are there any questions for Chair Oxner? Good. All right, seeing none, further committee chair reports. Chair Booz.
All right. Every week I do a segment. And so this is the segment to inform you about what's going on with Elections Reform and Senate Operations Committee. So last Monday we talked about expense reporting and came to a pretty quick conclusion that we would be able to accommodate the two issues that we had already known about, which is being able to allow campaigns to spend money on, say, Facebook ads, which aren't billed until they're done after the deadline to submit a campaign report. Basically, if they are a contractually obligated expense, then we resolve that you'll be able to do that on your use that on your expense report. And then also we talked about allowing presidential campaigns to take money from the primary into the general if they move into the general. And so we ended up saying that should probably be like a $300 for the primary, which is the current limit for the primary, and then $600 overall, which was $300 in the general was the prior limit. So those are the two decisions we made. We also discussed allowing say Senate campaigns who people are pretty much entirely running together, allowing those campaigns to file jointly for expense reporting. And so we did not make a decision on that. So if you're interested, please email the committee or me or come to Senate Operations, which is at 8 p.m. Next Monday in the CSI conference room. And hopefully we should have a bill submitted by then, because that would be the last day to submit a bill for the for it to be passed this year. So I'm currently working on that. Right, that's my update. Any questions, please let me know.
Any questions for Chair Booz? Caucus Leader Spelman.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did finish the Article 4 stuff to actually right before Senate. And my intention now is to, since either we pass or we fail, and probably pass the statutes changes for the elections portion of our statutes, to also make those changes and send them out by the weekend. So.
To add to that, just on Nathan and I's end, we are intending on taking a couple days over Thanksgiving break and for so for elections, since it's more time sensitive, getting those done and uploaded online over Thanksgiving, but then every other governing document changes, going through and being sure that when we start back up in January, that's all reflected online, what's happened so far this session.
Yeah, I'll make sure to send those to you as well. So
thank you.
You'll have that.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, further committee chair reports. Chair Riffle.
Evening, Student Senate. Not much of an update, just a quick reminder that my committee is still looking for an at-large member. So if you're interested in that at all, please do contact me. I think the committee will probably be looking on deciding on a new at-large member this coming Monday. So if you have any interest, please get in touch with me before then. Email dhriffle@ksu. If you're very interested, come talk to me. Thanks.
Further questions? Senator Coker.
Mondays, 6 p.m., CSI conference room.
Any further questions for Chair Riffle? All right, seeing none, are there any further committee chair reports? Directors' reports? Pro Tem Bothwell.
Hi, everyone. So just some quick updates. A lot of these were already in the announcements, but I'm just re-hitting on them again to make sure that everyone knows about them, and then to give some updates on the special committee that I'm on. So first of all, if you are in this room and you had not completed the IDI yet, you received an email from me on Monday. Some of you have emailed me back individually, but I could go around and point out who hasn't completed IDI by this point. I'm not going to do that. But please make sure you finish that. We really want to get the group profile results, and those of us who have completed it can't get our results back until everyone's is. So if you're having issues, if you're struggling, email me or Director Ayana Belk, and we'll gladly help you with that. But we would really like to get this done so we can kind of all learn about ourselves, meet with qualified administrators. It'll be a really great opportunity. So if you received my make you feel guilty email, you should go complete the IDI. The other thing, like Speaker Heatherman mentioned earlier, name tag order form I sent out earlier today. If you're interested in getting a name tag, you just have to pay me by November 22nd, which is the Friday before Thanksgiving break. I'm going to put in the order over Thanksgiving break, so that way when we come back, there'll be name tags waiting for everyone at that first Senate back. This is open to all members of student government, so if you're an intern and you'd like to order a fancy SGA name tag, feel free to order one. But this also applies to all cabinet members, judicial members, literally anyone is able to order a name tag. So if that's something you're interested in doing, see the link on the agenda or the email that I sent out earlier this morning. And then the other just announcement that I have is about the special committee on diversity programming committee reform. We're gonna have our first meeting next week. We're actually deciding the meeting time tomorrow. I think that we're leaning towards a really late meeting time. So I think the estimated time right now is going to be either Mondays or Wednesdays, 9 to 10 p.m. So it's going to be a late meeting time, but it's going to be fun. We're going to get a good group, and I'll share updates from that committee as it moves forward. So right now, I don't have a lot set in stone, but I'll communicate that as we move forward for the year. So with that, I have no further updates.
Any questions for Speaker Pro Tem Bothwell? Right, seeing none, further directors' reports? President Penny.
Hello. So you might be wondering why we're all running in late the last 2 weeks from Cabinet. Well, a big thank you to Sadie. Cabinet tonight was at Lafayette Health Center. We had a great presentation there and tour. And then last week we were at the KSU Foundation. So 2 pretty cool opportunities for Cabinet that we've been doing. One thing really quick, following up on our presentation from CFO Erickson about the budget, I just really quickly wanted to put this in terms that I understand a lot better, and I think we can maybe wrap our heads around. So what's going to happen on this new budget model, if I'm the College of Engineering and from my student credit hours, I get $1 million, about 700,000 of that is going to come straight back to me in the College of Engineering. About 300,000 of that is going to go into a pot that is ran by the university that is used for strategic initiatives that is purely for things that are going to bring quicker ROI to the university. So if Arts and Sciences has a new program that they really want to launch, they need money for, they're going to allocate money towards that, and they can pick and choose where that goes. And then in addition to that, there are going to be service centers around the university. Department of Marketing and Communications, printing, recruitment. Some places use that a lot more than others. If I'm in the College of Engineering and I want to use a lot more of the recruitment efforts, I'm now going to have to pay per per unit, per student, per credit hour for those. And so really, in my eyes, I've always seen this as a very capitalistic model. If you start bringing in more student credit hours, you're going to get more money, and it really brings in that incentive to do just that, to really ramp up enrollment, ramp up all of your programs there. And so that's how that works. And there is a lot of student input on that. The student body president and the privileged fee chair sit on the budget model review panel. So we see all those changes before it happens on that task force. Next, talking about tuition and fees. Next week, we're going to have the last opportunity with interim Dean Clark from the College of Engineering going over the previous fees that we are approving that have been passed. And then also an update from Faculty Senate from this week that Hannah and I attended. There was a contentious issue on adding a public health major. This is something that's going to be housed in the College of Health and Human Sciences with collaborations in the College of Ag and the College of Arts and Sciences. That was voted down with a vote of 43 to 48 to 6, so it was very close on that. Both mine, Hannah, and Ollie's vote were a yes for that because we saw that a large benefit to students, so we're going to have to see what happens there. And then lastly, we're looking for someone with a recent resignation. We now have an opportunity for someone to serve on the Out-of-State Board of Appeals Committee. So this has to be someone who's not from Kansas, and what this board does is if there is a student coming in who thinks that they should be paying for in-state tuition, even though they might have just moved from out of state, or some of their family lives out of state and the university is trying to tell them that they have to pay out of state. This is their opportunity to appeal that, and there's students that sit on that committee along with administrators and faculty to see what their situation is and if they do deserve that in-state. So if you're interested in serving on that, please send me an email and that's jansenpenny@ksu.edu. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Senator King.
Yeah, so I have a question about legislative advocates
Yes.
and when the deadline is to apply.
Yeah, so the deadline for legislative advocates, PJ is not here because he is very sick, but that is at 10:30 this evening is the deadline for legislative advocates.
Great.
Why has that not been advertised in our announcements?
So I will say I did announce that last week. It wasn't put on the agenda because we received too late of notice about it, but it was announced to all of Senate last week.
Go ahead.
The only advertisement that I've seen for that is on PJ Hopfinger's
Do you have a
Twitter page. Why is that?
Okay, it was advertised on a lot of different social media, and it should have been ran through an SGA all-wide email as well, to my understanding.
Okay. Further questions? Senator Prus.
Can I shoot that question to you, Hannah?
Yeah. So I serve on Faculty Senate Exec, so I saw a lot of the conversation happen there. And my understanding is that with new degree program proposals, they can be brought back forth, but the feasibility at this point of that degree being added for to start recruiting that new class for fall of 2020, that window's kind of passed because they have to be approved by the Board of Regents. However, based off of the discussions and the concerns in Faculty Senate, I would say many of them are just about making that degree program the strongest it can be rather than barely meeting accreditation. And I would anticipate that that degree program proposal will be brought forth next year again. Yeah.
So like it would just be like brought back to Faculty Senate when they saw it was like fit or like was like strong. And it would just go back through Faculty Senate again.
Yeah, when the Academic Affairs Committee reviews an amended request and brings it back forth.
Yeah,
there.
and some of the contention on that is that a student could go through the entire program without taking a chemistry course. A lot of people got really hung up on that. And then as well, some of the colleges were not asked more about it as much as they wish they had as far as collaborations. And so there's probably there's a little bit of political mindset there that people had some contention and some very hard feelings about.
Any further questions? Senator Snyder.
Yeah, personally, I think it'll bring an adjustment in budget, but not a very drastic one. Right now, some of those colleges and departments that do have those smaller student credit hours already have a lot are already given a lot less in their budget as it is, but this is now going to put a better formula behind it. And so I don't think there'll be any like drastic swings in budgets. Right now, still, when I ask deans how they think it's going to affect their college, they all give the same answer of, we'll have to see, it could go either way. And so I don't know if that's just because I'm on TFSC and they don't want to share if it's going to be good for them or what, but a lot of them are really not sharing like whether they think it's going to be really good or really bad.
Further questions? Senator Beasley.
This might be a question that I should have asked if he was here, but are we following the example of another university with this budget remodeling?
Yeah, is that Auburn? Yeah, Auburn is one of the schools that we had their provost visit. I think it was last semester or during the summer, and give a presentation on what they do. And this is also, it says in the name too, this is also like the
Time for
modern way
questions.
to budget.
Time for questions has expired. Senator King. Moved and seconded to extend time for questions by 5 minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, 5 more minutes.
Yep, and then on top of that, this is like the new wave of what is like modern budgeting, and probably it has a lot more business model to it rather than maybe how like a government works, just like in how I see.
Any further questions? Right, seeing none. Any other director's reports? Okay, with that, we'll move into final action. Will the author of Bill 40 please come forward? Have any changes been made?
No changes have been made.
First right to debate.
All right, so when we came up with the topics at the beginning of the year, one of them we knew was going to the elections commissioner. There was a lot of controversy over the position last year, and we wanted to try to address the causes of that. And I think we did a fairly good job, especially in the bylaws, of addressing those consequences. First, we clarified quite a bit of the elections committee and the selection of the elections committee. A major part of this bill is making sure that if somebody is currently running for student body president or student body vice president, that they must recuse themselves if they would need to reappoint anyone who would be part of the elections committee, including the elections commissioner. And so this would prevent, the concern last year that some people had about the removal efforts. As well, this would also caution people against appointing the elections commissioner or a member of the elections committee if they reasonably believe that their interactions later down the line would be problematic. It isn't a prohibition on doing it, but we wanted to codify the expectation that you should let the other two branches of government pick someone who will be neutral towards your projected campaign. We also clarified what is meant by the elections board in the bylaws and just generally polished it up. So I see no reason not to approve this legislation, and I'm open for questions.
Are there any questions for the author? All right, seeing none, seeing none, unless there's a motion to bulk roll call bills 40 and 41, Senator Snyder. Been moved and seconded to bulk roll call bills 40 and 41. Are there any objections? Right, seeing none, will the author of Bill 41 come forward? Have any changes been made?
No changes have been made.
Right, first right to debate.
Right. So the focus of this bill and the statutes in particular was a little more granular. It was just trying to make sure that we clearly define who's responsible for each task that's defined in the bylaws. And so sometimes we change that to be, the elections board as a unit, or even the elections committee, or a member of the elections committee and the elections commissioner. There's various combinations there, but that should more accurately reflect who's responsible for individual tasks that are defined in the statutes. So, as always, I'm open for questions.
Any questions? Right, seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Further debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Right, seeing none, we'll move into bulk roll call on bills 40 and 41. Just a reminder, that's yes to both, no to both, or yes to one, no to two.
Al Abdullah, Almadani, Beasley, Belina, Betancourt, Bond, Booz, Bowers, Brency, Burke, Carlson, Carr, Clark, Clements, Coggeshall, Colasico, Cruz, Dowd, Frederick, Gallardo, Gilliland King, Gillespie, Glasscock, Hamlin, Hines, Huffman, Jabin, Jonak, Kelly, Kerperin, Kidd, King, Koger, Kurzweil, Coleman, Lomshek, Lux, Matos, Meinhardt, Oxner, Orzakowski, Pelton, Payton, Phillips, Preuss, Rivera, Rodriguez, Reichert, Seidel, Slichter, Smith, Snyder Ben, Snyder Blaine, Spellman, Wallace, Ward Kelly, Ward Shalin, Watkins, Whitmer, and Zimmerman. Bills 40 and 41 both pass 52 to 0 to 1.
Right, will the author of Bill 42 please come forward? Caucus Leader Spelman. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to bulk roll calls bills 42, 43, and 44. I'd just like to point out that Bill 44 is for, or bills 43 and 44 are for a separate entity. Are there any objections to that bulk roll call? All right, seeing none, bills 42, 43, 44 will be bulk roll called. Have any changes been made?
No substantial changes have been made.
Do you want to elaborate on what changes have been made?
Wait, what?
No.
No substantial changes have been made because no changes have been made.
Okay, thank you. All right, you have first right to debate.
Okay, so the continuance for student legal services, I'd highly encourage everyone to vote for, because student legal services sees about 400 cases every year and provides access to free legal services to all students on campus. It's a one-person operation, and they utilize their finances extremely well. They have plans to use any surplus monies. And yeah, I encourage you to approve Bill 19-2042.
Are there any questions? Right, seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Pro Tem Bothwell.
Hi, everyone. So I actually am going to debate in the negative on this first privilege fee contract. So bear with me for just a little bit. But I don't think that you should just vote this through without thinking about it or anything like that. So I know we have like a couple newer senators and things like that. But what's up in front of us right now is a privilege fee contract. And our privilege fee is directly determined by how you vote on this. So if we just give a group a continuance, that means like that part of the privilege fee is going to stay the same. If we give them an increase, that's going to go up. If we give them a decrease, the privilege fee is going to go down. Our privilege fee is a floating fee. So it like alternates depending on enrollment, but also on the very decisions that we make in this room. And I don't think that it's something that we should just bat an eye at. So kind of just to start with, for those of you who, I was pre-law up until about 2 weeks ago. So I like think that like legal services are like really good, really important, and definitely like really valuable to campus. So it's not necessarily like the quality of like the entity. I really like Sarah Barr. She's amazing and offers great services to campus. However, for those of you who were here last week when we did the SGA handbook quiz, privilege fee has gotten up to a point where it is $472.50 per semester. I think it's getting really high and honestly kind of unsustainable at a certain point. And if we get to like $500 per semester like within the next couple of years, like I think that's really bad if we're charging students over like $1,000 in extra fees each year. So I think that one of the tasks that the privilege fee committee has is finding like areas to like trim budgets, do good work and things like that to really like create like the best like privilege fee moving forward and to make sure that student dollars are being used in the most efficient way possible. I want to direct your attention on this piece of legislation to line 23. So on line 23, it says that student legal services carried over $9,800 last fiscal year, with this money being used to provide like services to students. But that means that at the end of the year, they had an extra almost $10,000, which I think is like kind of like a bit substantial for a budget that's roughly like a little over $100,000. I would have liked the privilege fee committee to maybe look into possible cuts that were really small. For example, a cut of like $3,000, since this is a 3-year contract per year, basically would mean that per year, like this like surplus from the past year would carry over into the next few years. So really, I'm not up here because I don't see value like in what the privilege fee committee has done or what student legal services does, but I would really like to ask someone else from the privilege fee committee to come up and justify why they went with a continuance over any other piece of legislation. I apologize, Priv Fee, that I couldn't go this week. I have a night class. But so that's like why I'm debating in the negative tonight. And I'd like to see more debate on this motion moving forward. I think that like these contracts are really important and you shouldn't just vote them through automatically. So with that, I'll stand down and stand for any questions that the body may have of me.
Any questions for the speaker? Chair Watkins.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions? Senator Lex.
Yeah, so if we were to vote no on this privilege fee contract tonight, it would go back to the committee and they would have to pass like something this year. If we don't pass a contract, that means student legal services would get $0. So they would have to come up with an alternative solution. I know they're already busy for this year, so they've already got a lot on their plate. So if we voted no, they would like in committee next week start looking at like what are other options or bills that they could present to Student Senate.
Further questions? Right, seeing none, is there any debate in the positive? Chair Riffle.
First off, bear with me, I do still have a cough. Again, welcome, Student Senate. I just want to start off by saying, honestly, thank you to the previous speaker, because I do think it's very important that all senators do take the privilege fee seriously. They do need to take it seriously how student dollars are spent. And just basing off of that, the committee definitely does take that into account. But our job is not necessarily to look to where we can trim budgets per se. The purpose of the bridge fee is to ensure that student dollars are being utilized properly in giving services back to students. And I think that student legal services definitely fits that bill. And that's why the committee felt the continuance was very applicable. As mentioned in introduction, they do provide a service to students that otherwise students would not be able to afford in many cases. They are very well utilized. While they do have a surplus of budget, they do have a plan to utilize those for more services that students would very well like to utilize as well. That was taken into account by the committee. It wasn't necessarily just looked over. Yeah, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Chair Riffle? Senator Snyder.
Yes, so let's see. Fiscal year 17, they had a carryover of $9,979. Fiscal year 18, they had a surplus of $4,000, and fiscal year 19 was that $9,900. The reason they had only a surplus of $4,000 in 18 is that about $5,000 of that went to supporting another department. Yes.
Yeah, granted.
So currently, the main service that is being looked into is that background check service. Currently, that is what she's been scoping out and what is the plan for that money. Again, she has a broad list of project goals. This is one of the things that I keep saying she, this is one of the things that SLS came to us and was discussing was the fact that we have this carryover, we have the surplus. We know that's an issue per se, and here are some ways that we want to deal with it. Project goals they have to utilize that include that background check service, reevaluating how she's doing outreach and marketing to students, potentially updating landlord-tenant handbooks, and improving upon her electronic case management system. So she definitely has ideas to utilize that surplus. Does that answer your question?
Further questions? Senator Al Abdullah.
I mean, there's definitely an option for that. Yes, you have to table this bill for a week per se. That could be arranged, yeah.
Granted. Do you have a question for a follow-up? Are there any further questions?
Wait.
All right.
Go
ahead.
Point to potentially answer, I don't know.
Okay. Any further questions? Senator Beasley.
So looking at this one contract perspective of like the rest of the privilege free contracts that are coming through, is this one continuance representative of like the trend of this year's contracts, or are there other cuts that are going to be seen? And so, yeah, are there other cuts on other contracts?
The next two bills the committee will be bringing after these two are cuts. So this does not resemble the trend of what the committee's thinking is.
Time for questions has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Snyder. It's been moved and seconded to extend time for questions by 10 minutes. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, you got 10 minutes.
And I would talk for 10 minutes if you want me to. Yes, no, that definitely is not representative of the trend of the committee's thinking for this year. You know, I'd say we're looking very holistically at the value that these entities provide to students, while at the same time making cuts where we deem fit based on utilization. And so, no, that's not representative of the trend.
Further questions? Senator Rivera.
No, so that was, I wish I had my notes here. That was supporting, referring to,
Office of, oh,
I defer to,
I believe it was an administrator professional in the Office of Student Life, like somebody overseeing like the reception portion of that office, just for clarification, which is where Student Legal Services is housed. Granted.
so that's how the surplus has generally been, has that it will carry over between years, yes.
Okay, Senator Koger.
So if you do have the surplus carryover, do they have like a rainy day account where if we maybe not?
No, so they,
Where would the carryover end up?
so it's typical of many entities that don't have a reserve account. Typically, that will just sit within their operating account as just an unused, unspent funds, unless specifically in their contract it states it goes back into a reserve and or the privilege fee main account.
Further follow up.
So like they would have like pretty good amounts of funding in their account, like built up throughout the year. Well,
Defer to Senator Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Sure.
Fiscal year 2018, they actually had 4,000. So, and it went about 9,000, 4,000, 9,000. So it does fluctuate.
Okay. Further questions? Caucus Leader Kidd.
Did Sarah Barr say anything during her presentation about potentially getting new staff to help her, or like utilizing some way of working with another legal professional to aid in servicing students?
Yes, so that was one of the bigger discussions we had as a committee, questioning her as to what she potentially could use to fulfill maybe that need of the fact that she's kind of overloaded with cases. A few of the things we asked is if she considered potentially working with pre-law students, if she considered taking on another attorney, things like that. She said things like pre-law students, not so much, just due to the confidentiality of potential student-on-student conflicts. Taking on another attorney would have to bump up her allocation by almost twofold. So that's not very feasible in her current situation. The only place she could see any benefit from would maybe be from like a clerk for her office, but she honestly didn't see any need for that, which is one of the other main reasons why she felt that continuance was fit.
Further questions? Senator Clark.
what percent of the cases that Student Legal Services deals with are drug and alcohol?
So she didn't necessarily split that apart, but I will give you a breakdown of the 2018-19 cases by general type. Would you like that? So 60% of her cases, about 240 of those were criminal cases. 6% were civil cases, so 35 cases. 52 of those cases, which is 12%, were landlord-tenant cases, and the remaining 20%, so about 83 cases, were traffic-related.
Further questions? Right, seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Further debate in the positive? Any debate at all? All right, seeing none, will the author of Bill 43 please come forward? Oh, Intern Phillips? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to reconsider the previous motion to bulk roll calls, Bills 41 through 43. Is that debatable?
So vote, yeah, it's the majority.
Okay, all those in favor of reconsidering that motion to bulk roll calls 41 through 43, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. We'll reconsider that motion. So voting on the motion to bulk roll call Bills 41 and 43. So we're back to the original motion, and that's what we're considering right now. Those in favor of bulk roll calling Bills 41, 42, and 43, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Aye. All right, Bills 41, 42, and 43 will be separate for now. Oh, sorry. You all know what I meant. We'll just go with that. Okay, so we'll now move into roll call on Bill 42.
Al Abdullah? Al Madani? Yes. Beasley? Pass. Belina? No. Betancourt? No. Bond? Yes. Booz? Pass. Bowers? No. Brentsy? No, by proxy. Burke? Pass. Carlson? No. Carr? Yes, by proxy. Clark? Clements? Yes. Coggeshall? Colisico? Cruz? Dowd? Yes. Frederick? Yes. Gallardo? No. Gillen King? Gillespie? No. Glasscock? Pass. Hamlin? No. Hines? Huffman? Yes. Jabin? Yes. Jonak? Kelly? Yes. Kerperin? Yes. Kidd? Yes. King? Yes. Koger? Yes. Kurzweil? Yes, by proxy. Coleman? Yes. Lomshek? Yes. Lux? No. Matos? Meinhardt? Yes. Oxner? Yes. Orzakowski? Pelton? Yes. Peyton? Yes. Phillips? No. Preuss? No. Rivera? No. Rodriguez? Yes, by proxy. Reichert? Aye. Seidel? Yes. Slichter? Yes. Smith? Aye. Snyder Ben? Yes. Snyder Blaine? No. Spellman? Yes. Wallace? Ward Kelly? Yes. Ward Shalin? No. Watkins? Yes. Whitmer? Aye. And Zimmerman? No. Okay, and then I'm going to go back through for the passes. I'm just going to say every name, so there might be some people who aren't here. So, Beasley? Yes. Booz? Yes. Burke? Yes. Coggeshall? Colisico? Cruz, that was a pass by proxy. Yes, by proxy. Okay. Gillen King. Glasscock. Yes. Jonak's not here. I think Matos is not here, correct? Okay. The vote total is, the vote passes 38-17.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to Bill 43. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
No changes have been made.
You have first right to debate.
All right. Hello again, everyone. All right, so this is a continuance of the Wildcat Watch equipment reserve privilege fee. Kind of same argument as last one. We reviewed them. We deemed that their utilization of this funding was appropriate. As states in the bill, they did complete with an equipment budget surplus of $9,179.95. The issue is, since they're a young entity, they've only been around for, I think it's they've only been on Priv fee for 3 years so far. They're kind of in an experimental fluctuations phase, and they don't have any strong surplus for equipment. We deem that honestly this reserve is, or the surplus is pretty appropriate for them. Yeah, I would move that you guys vote yes on this.
Any questions? Caucus Leader Glasscock. It's been moved and seconded to hold bills 43 and 44 for bulk roll call. Are there any objections? All right, there's an objection, seeing an objection. All those in favor of holding bills 43 and 44 for bulk roll call, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll call for division just in case. Those in favor, please raise your right hand. You can raise both hands if you have a proxy. Okay, those opposed, same sign. You're very loud. Good job. So the motion to hold bills 43 and 44 for bulk roll call passes. Are there any questions for our debater? Chair Booz.
Can you say a little bit more about why you feel like this surplus is appropriate for
Okay. Between bulk roll call, okay, am I allowed to debate on both of them collectively?
Please keep debate germane to Bill 43.
Awesome. All right, so the question was why we felt it was appropriate that they have this this equipment surplus. So in an overall perspective of Wildcat Watch, really, while they do have this equipment reserve fund, it's not like they're using $15,000 for equipment every year. So they are allowed to utilize both of these, all of their budgets for either equipment or operating expenses. So really, a lot of this money does go towards their operating fund. It just was not necessarily pooled over, goes into this. And this is actually what, this surplus is really what is their equipment reserve. So the surplus is what they'll actually be able to utilize per se if they do have an expensive piece of equipment fail. So it's not like they have necessarily $15,000 every year to use for equipment. They're really still living off of $150,000 or $105,000 they were given on their first year privilege fee funding. That's what they utilize to get their initial set of equipment. And so they have that value of $100,000 of video equipment that potentially will need to be replaced, you know, in any emergency situation. That's why we felt like having that rolling budget surplus is really what's functioning as their equipment reserve as is.
Further questions? Chair Watkins.
I will defer to Senator Hines.
Yeah, so I mean, really, it's not as simple as just like homeowners insurance. And so they're still looking into exactly how much it would cost to insure. That's one of the things that is on there.
And
would it be advantageous to wait to vote on this until after you kind of have that foundation of
so this is a 1-year contract, and that was taken into account. The other thought is the fact that they may currently be insured under a K-State level insurance, so they were not sure about that and whether they could seek out other insurance on that.
Further questions? Senator Snyder.
Last week, I believe you said you strongly advised this group to get insurance, right?
in the bill, we are recommending that they inquire about the possibility about having their insurance insured.
Further questions? Senator Al-Abdullah.
Yes, so this was taken into strong consideration the fact that they are a video media group. They provide that video production value to students. So video media is a strongly growing segment of like media as we are going throughout the years. I mean, everyone wants to have their own video for their group. Everyone sees the value in having that, and so we see this as it's a growing group, and we're kind of trying to focus. That's why we're giving them 1 year, and we're advising that they seek insurance. In the next bill, we're advising them to other things as well. We are just trying to continue to grow that ability for them to serve that growing need in students for that video production.
Granted.
My response to that would be clear in the next bill. That doesn't really apply necessarily to their equipment reserve.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, is there debate? Oh, Senator Carlson.
Yeah. In like money that goes into this reserve account? Yes. So, I mean, so this reserve does receive currently $15,000. So they've been like talking about the equipment reserve account right here. So on their first year, they received $105,000 as a initial purchase value for equipment. And then in the second and third fiscal year, so right now we're in the third fiscal year of their initial cycle, they've received $15,000 in each of those.
Did that answer your question? Go ahead. Is it a hypothetical? Okay. All right. Further questions? All right. I'll now be seeking any debate in the negative. Senator Al-Abdullah.
I'm going to go ahead with negative. The reason why, it's just not clear for me why students' tuition should go to this organization. We have to understand what's value, what's benefit, and how they are commitment to do this value in the campus. Otherwise, I feel we could not go and move forward and saying yes to them if we don't understand what's going on and how they utilize all this money. So that's what I just feel, and I think it's just appropriate way to think about it. Thank you. Is there any question?
Any questions for a speaker? All right, seeing none, is there any further debate in the positive? Senator Clemens. Or in this chair, vice chair.
So I just kind of wanted to reiterate a few things that Donnie kind of touched on. As a committee, one of our main focuses isn't necessarily where we can slash budgets, but looking at the benefit that an entity provides for students versus their spending and their budgets. And so we found that Wildcat Watch is a newer organization, so they're kind of just getting their feet in, and they process about 72 formal requests since they started in 2017, about 18 requests per semester, which maxes them out. They actually have to turn down requests sometimes because they don't have enough capacity to handle all the video requests they get. So a lot of those, they take on anything that they can do for student organizations that don't have to pay them before they would take on like recruitment videos for a department. So pretty much all the videos that they do are direct benefits to students, and then they don't have any cushion other than that surplus that they carry over if something were to go wrong with a very expensive camera or something like that. So we felt that it was very appropriate that they had this extra funding just as a what if something went wrong, they need to still be able to provide their services. Are there any questions?
Any questions for our speaker? Senator Longship.
Yes, I remember one of the reasonings was if the time frame was too quick, and then some of it was just if they didn't have the appropriate equipment, they would refer to someone from like the Department of Communications or an independent student. I think there are a few other reasons, but off the top of my head, those are the ones I remember for sure. Is just not having enough time to get them done.
Further questions? Right, seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Chair Watkins. Yep. Is there a second? First. Is a second to table? Are there any objections? Okay. Motion to table is a majority vote. All those in favor of tabling, please raise your right hand. It is, yeah, sorry, first right to debate. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a few points. I like Wildcat Watch. I think they do like a really cool, unique thing for campus. My concern though is if we just send like a recommendation that they look into insuring their equipment, we're basically potentially giving them almost $10,000 of money that they might not need. And while it is, something that's cool and that helps students, it's students' money, and if they don't need that, then we shouldn't be giving it to them. I also think that having them insure their equipment is a good idea because that in the future could save us a lot of money. If they have to come to us and ask for more money because some of their equipment breaks, I think it's smarter to just have it insured. But I think that we should know how much money they need to insure their equipment before we give it to them.
Okay, any questions for our speaker? Right, seeing none. Do you have a question? Okay, good.
The equipment reserve.
Okay, further questions? Right, seeing none, debate in the negative on tabling. Senator Javin.
Long walk across the front. Brought my sign up. Hey guys, so I love the debate on any privilege fee contract. So the reason I'm going to debate in the negative on this motion specifically is that privilege fee is, at least in my opinion and in the opinion of what I believe is the committee as a whole, is in the business of writing contracts for budgets as a whole for entities. And we make a lot of suggestions to entities on things that we think that they might want to do with their money, but when it comes down to it, we really don't get to determine what they do with their money. So we don't get to say to UPC that we want them to run a specific event or that we want them to do some specific thing. And if we were to determine that we wanted to hold any budget until an entity started doing a certain action for us, I think that that would be not good. And I think that we should not hold entities hostage in terms of like doing things that we want them to do before we budget for them. I also think that with the insurance thing specifically, that was just something that we saw. We know that this insurance is complicated because they've already looked into it, because they also don't want to be at a big loss of money when it comes to their equipment. So that's something that they want as well. It's just something that is complicated because for camera equipment, in the way that they described it to us, you can't get insurance for like a full year on a very expensive camera. You can get insurance for like a specific occasion when you're traveling to Chicago with your camera. So it's complicated and they are looking into it, but there is no point where we're gonna get an awesome set answer that we're looking for. We're gonna get them telling us what they told us in our meeting, which was that they're gonna do their best to do what they can with their money in a responsible way. But I don't think that we should table this, because I don't think that there's going to be anything different that's going to come about as a result of more time. I stand for questions.
Questions for the speaker? Right, seeing none, any further debate in the positive on tabling this bill? Debate in the negative? Senator Hines.
So as far as tabling this bill, I strongly disagree when it comes to the grounds that we should wait as far as insurance. The reasoning is because either way, the organization needs to have these funds. They either need to have the funds to pay for a potential insurance, or they need to have the funds so that they can self-insure. So if they can't get the insurance, they have to have even more funds than they would if they do get the insurance. So the way I see it, the current setup with having them have that carryover money in that reserve account allows them to self-insure until they might have an insurance, which would allow them to be able to reduce the necessary amount that they have to have carryover and in reserves.
Any questions for our speaker? Right, seeing none, further debate in the positive on tabling.
Actually, point of information, I guess.
Mhm.
Actually, Steve's looking through Bob's rules over there. If we table this bill, what effect does that have on the vote on the bill that is tied to it, or something?
We would proceed with 44 as it is a separate contract. So proceeding with Bill 44 would still guarantee, like the funding or that funding decision and getting that set in stone for their operations planning for next year. Yeah. Debate in the positive on tabling this bill. Debate in the negative.
Yeah, so I'm going to debate in the negative on the motion to table this, kind of by using, I was going to debate in the positive on why you should vote yes on this contract earlier, but I think both reasonings apply right here. So the reason I don't think you should table this is a piece of information that hasn't really been brought up in the other debates, and that this is a one-year contract. Privilege fee contracts are standard at 3 years, so that means that entity won't get reviewed again for the next 2 years, but this one is only 1 year. So these recommendations that we give, we're going to be voting on this again next year, which is a really quick turnaround, and I don't think there's been a one-year contract as long as I have been in Student Senate, and someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, but this doesn't happen very often. That's because the Privilege Fee Committee recognized that there were challenges, things that needed worked out with Wildcat Watch, but instead they're giving them a timeline that they need to work on that 1 year till your next review, and then they're going to be doing it then. So things like this insurance thing, but also the structure of the organization was mentioned. Issues like that I think are good. So I think giving them a single 1 year contract at a continuance puts a pin in this issue. It lets us revisit it. We're a pretty young Student Senate for the most part, so many of you will be here next year and will remember this conversation and inform your decisions as you go on to next year. But so for that reason, I think that you should vote no on the motion to table and then vote yes on the actual bill later, because I think that tabling this pushes this problem aside. And as previous speakers mentioned, there's no clear answer that would come back anytime soon. But I also think that voting yes on this is good because it gives us the opportunity to revisit this in the near future at a continuance, so there's no change to Wildcat Watch's budget. Just a couple other things. Wildcat Watch is the smallest entity on privilege fee, so they are like have the smallest total dollar amount going to them. So there's really like less of a concern, I think, like towards like overall privilege fee, specifically with this contract. And then second, something to keep in mind, even though I did get up and debate in the negative on an earlier bill tonight, the Privilege Fee Committee is really busy this year. They actually had 7 entities that they had to review from the start, and then they pulled an extra one out of cycle this year, getting to 8. Last year, we only reviewed 4 entities in the entire year as a student senate. So I also think you should keep that in mind. That was another reason a 1-year contract was offered, is where the plan is to offer them a 3-year next year. So then we start to like balance out the number of entities per year as well. So with that, I strongly urge you to vote no on the motion to table, and also for later, vote yes on the actual bill, because I don't want to get up a second time. So,
Any questions for our speaker? Right, seeing none, debate in the positive for tabling. Further debate in the negative. Any debate at all? All right, we'll proceed to a vote on the motion to table Bill 43. All those in favor of tabling, raise your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. All right, that motion to table fails. With that, we will resume debate on Bill 43. I'll be looking for debate in the positive. Chair Booth.
All right, so this is more of a neutral-ish debate, although I will be voting yes on the bill. So that's why I categorized it under positive. You know, overall, I think it's hard to argue that you should be that we should be concerned at one $9,000 surplus and not concerned at another $9,000 surplus. But I think with the circumstances in this bill, as far as like they have $115,000-ish of equipment, they do need to have some money available just in case something breaks and that sort of thing. And just more generally, that this is a 1-year contract. I do believe that there is sufficient reasons to vote for it. So I wanted to come up here to explain kind of my position and how I'm a little conflicted on it, but overall I'll be voting in support. So thank you, and I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for our speaker? Debate in the negative. Further debate in the positive. Any debate at all? Right, we'll proceed to Bill 44. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
No changes have been made.
First right to debate.
All right, so this is the real meat of the discussion here with Wildcat Watch. This is the bill on the continuance of their operations. And so just, So just to base off of all of the discussion had. So in this legislation, it also states an operating surplus of $8,767. So in total, Wildcat Watch is operating with around a almost $18,000 to $20,000 surplus in total for their entire operations. And again, as was mentioned, this is a 1-year contract. Both these are 1-year contracts because we are wanting them to restructure. If you notice the last whereas clause, they are planning on spending the next year determining and spending time, spending that funding that they currently have, determining a plan of restructuring their entire organization. And once they do restructure, the plan is that they will have determined how to handle dealing with this surplus. They'll probably have a better plan for dealing with their equipment, for having an actual functioning equipment reserve and operations that are separate. As I mentioned before, currently there are 2 bills, but all of this money goes into virtually the same budget. It's not like they're restricted to have like the equipment funding be for equipment. It's just based on the allocation saying that it is. And just the fact that they do have to turn away requests currently, so they're being fully utilized by student groups on this campus. I'd say that's a good use of those student dollars there if there is that much interest in it. The committee did spend considerable amount of time asking these same exact questions that you guys as a Senate are asking of especially this entity and other entities that we bring up. And so I encourage you guys to potentially, at the same time, don't just not ask questions based on it, but do consider the fact that we have considered a lot of these same concerns that you guys are having out there. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions? Senator Hines.
Can you please explain the current structure and what the new structure potentially could be about Wildcat Watch?
Yes, so this is something that I touched on introduction. But so currently, Wildcat Watch is actually a club. It is not a organization such as, even like Student Design Services or the Collegian or anything like that. It is a student club. Their executive team are students. So their executive director is a senior here. Their vice is a junior here at K-State. So really, the function as a club is not very intuitive for what they're trying to provide to other groups here in K-State. One of the main issues is their low commitment and high turnover based on this current platform. So really only about 50% of the people they have working on projects are actually committed to those projects. And their high turnover is based on the fact that anybody can come into the club, they can put in any amount of work into a project, and if they put in that work to a project, they have to be considered on payroll, which means that they're considered in the entire budgeting of this organization, even if they leave after one meeting, 1 week, 1 month, whatever. And so this is causing just a ton of issues for them. And that's something that we saw having discussion with them. It's something that they see. And considering from the fact they do offer the service to a lot of groups on campus, they're being fully utilized. There is that interest from student groups on campus, but their structure is really what's holding them back and it's what's causing a lot of issues with their turnover and their surpluses. This is kind of the general thought behind the 1-year bills, the idea of them actually restructuring. And that's something that they kind of came to us in my first meeting with their advisor, Tyler Traxon. He came up with the idea that, hey, here's our problems. We want to restructure. I was like, great, let's jump on that. Let's go on that. And that's what the committee kind of discussed upon is the idea. And that's why that last whereas clause is that we are recommending that they spend it the next year restructuring. And they know that's why we are wanting them on a 1-year contract.
Further questions? Is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Any debate at all? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to a bulk roll call vote on bills 43 and 44.
So just a reminder, it's, you can say yes to all, no to all, but you also can specify. So you can say yes to 43, no to 44, etc. So we'll get started. Al Abdullah? Okay. Al-Madani? Beasley? Belina? Betancourt? Bond? Booz? Bowers? Brentsey? Burke? Carlson? Carr? Clark? Clements? Coggeshall? Colasico? Cruz? Dowd? Frederick? Gallardo? Sorry, was that no to all? Okay. Gillen King? Gillespie? Glasscock? Hamlin? Hines? Huffman? Jabin? Jonak? Kelly? Kerperin? Kidd? King? Koger? Kurzweil, Coleman, Lomshek, Lux, Matos, Meinhardt, Oxner, Orzakowski, Pelton, Peyton, Phillips, Prus, Rivera, Rodriguez, Reichert, Seidel, Slichter, Smith, Snyder Ben, Snyder Blaine, Spellman, Wallace, Ward Kelly, Ward Shalin, Watkins, Whitmer, and Zimmerman. And then I had Belina. And then Phillips, you were the only other pass, correct? Okay. Bill 43 passes 46-7-0, and then Bill 44 passes 47-6-0. So those are inverted, but they both pass.
Okay, with that, we'll move to Bill 45. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yes, there's been one change in Section 2, Part 2, beginning on line 53. It's just kind of a verbiage change, courtesy of Andrew Booz. Thank you, Andrew Booz. The original reads, further, the report did not adequately explain why the privilege fee chair compensation was determined to be disproportionately high. And it will now read, further, the report did not adequately explain why the privilege fee chair compensation recommendation is almost 3 times as high as the other allocations chairs. Yeah. Okay. But you all heard the right one, so
All right. Good. We'll get that noted on the final one. All right. You have first right to debate.
Awesome. So I already introduced it last week, clearly. So this disapproval mostly focuses on privilege fee chair compensation and focusing on uncompensated officers that were not explicitly addressed in the report. So again, we're just wanting more explanation as to why they made the decision that they did, why they gave the recommendation that they had, and wanting more criteria and more explanation from them. Similar to Bill 38 from last week that was passed, that really focused on standing committee chair compensation with allocations chairs. So we just are looking at different chairs within this disapproval, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think it's important to be thorough and make sure that JCOC is aware of all the positions that we want them to look at. That is it.
All right. Are there any questions for our speaker? Right, seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Any debate at all? All right, seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote on Bill 45.
Al Abdullah, Almadani, Beasley, Belina, Betancourt, Bond, Booz, Bowers, Brentsey, Burke, Carlson, Carr, Clark, Clements, Coggeshall, Colisico, Cruz, Dowd, Frederick, Gallardo, Gilliland King, Gillespie, Glasscock, Hamlin, Hines, Huffman, Jabin, Jonak, Kelly, Kerperin, Kidd, King, Koger. You're okay, but you're not a senator. You can't be a proxy. So, Kurzweil, Coleman, Lomshek, Lux, Matos, Meinhardt, Oxner, Orzakowski, Pelton, Peyton, Phillips, Prus, Rivera, Rodriguez, Reichert, Seidel, Slichter, Smith, Snyder Ben, Snyder Blaine, Spellman, Wallace, Ward Kelly, Ward Shalen, Watkins, Whitmer, and Zimmerman. Bill 45 passes 47 to 1 to 0.
Right, with that, we'll move on to Bill 46. If we can all please be quiet. Senator Snyder. Been moved and seconded to bulk roll call Bills 46 through 49. Are there any objections? Right, seeing none, Bills 46 through 49 will be bulk roll called. Will the author of Bill 46 please come forward? Senator Slichter. It's not needed. You're good. Have any changes been made?
No.
First right to debate.
All right, so this is the travel location to the Dairy Science Club. So
Sorry, Carson. Please cease to have side conversations. It's not helping the meeting run effectively. Thank you. Go ahead.
Also, travel locations is really interesting, so you should be excited. So this is the travel location to the Dairy Science Club. So they'll be attending the Dairy Science Association National Meeting. So we get to see a bunch of emerging technologies, some growth in dairy industry, and get to see the different places they could end up once they graduate. They'll also be going to a few dairies along the way, get to see that aspect of dairy science. So we allocate them $1,000.
All right. Is there any debate in the negative? Any debate at all? All right, seeing none, author of Bill 47. Have any changes been made?
No.
First right to debate.
All right, so this is the travel allocation to the KSU Photo Club. So they will be going to the National Society of Photographic Education Conference in Houston. So basically, they'll get to go see a bunch of professionals and their portfolios, and they'll also get the opportunity to have those professionals look over their portfolios and basically be able to figure out what areas they should focus on for their studies. They'll also be able to come back and tell their professors about it, which will change basically the trajectory of that department. So we allocated them $1,000.
Is there any questions? Debate in the negative or any debate? Right, Bill 48. Any changes?
No.
First right to debate.
So this is the travel location to On the Spot Improv. So they will be going to an IO theater workshop in Chicago. And so basically they'll have the opportunity to work with a bunch of professionals and really hone in on their skills. And then from there, they're going to bring those skills back. And when they do their little workshops on campus, they'll be able to use those for that. And they also do a bunch of like shows on campus. So they'll be able to implement those skills there as well. So they're taking 14 people. So we allocated them $1,000.
Right, is there any questions? Any debate? Right, Bill 49. Any changes?
Yeah, so on line 1, it says FY 2019. It should be 2020. That's my bad. Yeah.
Okay, first right to debate.
So this is the travel allocation to Sigma Alpha Professional Agricultural Sorority. So they will basically be going to their leadership conference. They will get to do a bunch of teamwork skills, attend a bunch of workshops, and get to really see all the good that their chapter can do. They'll bring all that back and implement it into their chapter in the coming year. And so we allocate them $1,000.
Any questions? Any debate? All right, seeing none, we'll move into a bulk roll call on bills 46 through 49.
You all know the drill by now. Single out any that you're voting differently on. So Al Abdullah, Al Madani, Beasley, Belina, Betancourt, Bond, Booz, Bowers, Brentsey, Burke, Carlson, Carr, Clark, Clements, Coggeshall, Colasico, Cruz, Dowd, Frederick, Gallardo, Gilliland King, Gillespie, Glasscock, Hamlin, Hines, Huffman, Jabin, Jonak, Kelly, Kerperin, Kidd, King, Koger, Kurzweil, Coleman, Lomshek, Lux, Matos, Meinhardt, Oxner, Orzakowski, Pelton, Payton, Phillips, Prus, Rivera, Rodriguez, Reichert, Seidel, Slichter, Smith, Snyder Ben, Snyder Blaine, Spellman, Wallace, Ward Kelly, Ward Shalen, Watkins, Whitmer, and Zimmerman. Bills 46 through 49 all pass 49 to 0 to 0.
All right, moving along, is there a motion to consider the minor allocations? Senator Beasley. It's been moved and seconded to consider the minor allocations. Bill 50, travel allocation to Beta. Okay, Senator Snyder. It's been moved and seconded to allow all speakers for the remainder of the night to summarize. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, for bills 55 through 61, authors will be allowed to summarize. Bill 50, travel allocation to Beta Sigma Psi, requested 750, recommended 750. 51, travel allocation to Golf Course Superintendents Association of America, requested 500, recommended 500. 52, travel allocation to Can Dance, requested 500, recommended 400. 53, travel allocation to KSU Wool Judging Team, requested 500, recommended 500. And Bill 54, travel allocation to Veterinary Business Management Association, requested 400, recommended 400. Are there any questions? All right.
A little switcheroo right there. So as we move into introduction of legislation, is there a motion to consider Bill 55? Senator Koger. It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 55. Will the author please come forward? You good? Okay.
All right, so this is the trial allocation to the American Society of Civil Engineers. So they're sending 4 students down to the American Society of Civil Engineers Student Leadership Workshop in Detroit. So basically they'll get to see kind of what their careers could look like in the future. They'll get to learn about some different technology that's kind of being put into play in civil engineering. And they're also going to go on like not like an industry tour, but it's like they're going to go look at like a bridge and look at like the physics of it. So it sounded kind of cool. So they're only sending 4 people, which is why it's $400 instead of like $2,000, because that's just, we can't do that. So yeah.
Are there any questions for the author? Chair Booz.
I mean, we started this year handing out like flyers to every student organization, so they all know about the $100, and it's on the front page of the forms, like per $100 per student. So I think it's just sometimes I think the form gets a little confusing, and we're trying to work on like making that better, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. Yeah.
Are there any other questions for the author? Okay. Seeing none, I'll now be seeking a motion on Bill 56. Is there a motion? Senator Koger. It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 56. The author's already up here. So.
Yeah. All right, so this is the travel allocation to Associated General Contractors. So they'll be sending 18 students down to Beaumont, Texas to basically build houses for Habitat for Humanity. And so with this, they are a group of primarily like architectural engineers and like people in the College of Architecture pretty much. And so basically for this project, they're not only just like building houses, they're also designing the houses. So Habitat for Humanity really like utilizes their skills and lets them just kind of just like do whatever they want within reason. So it's a really great opportunity for them. And so we allocated them $1,000.
Are there any questions for the author? Seeing none, I'll now be seeking a motion on Bill 57. Senator Coleman. It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 57. Author.
Okay. So this is the travel allocation to the Bakery Science Club. They'll be sending 30 students down to the American Society of Bakers annual conference. And so basically they'll get to look at a bunch of things like emerging food markets, basically places that they could work in the future, and they'll get to build those connections now while they're still in college, basically, and they'll get to see like where they could end up once they graduated. So we allocate them $1,000.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, and is there a motion on 58? Senator Meinhardt? It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 58. Carson.
All right, so this is the travel allocation to the Blue Key Senior Honor Society. So they'll be sending 15 students to the Blue Key National Conference. So one of the great things about Blue Key is they are the ones who operate the programs like Quest, Catalyst, and like Leadership Appreciation Reception and all of that. So basically they really look at like getting freshmen involved on campus. They look at really keeping freshmen here, making sure that they enjoy K-State and are really like ingrained into the society around here. And so we really want them to have the opportunity to go to this conference to be able to like make those programs they already do a lot better and look at what other chapters are doing. So we allocate them $1,000 to do that.
Any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, is there a motion on Bill 59? Senator Koger. It's been moved and seconded. Carson.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the travel allocation to the Catholic Student Organization. So they will be sending 55 students to SLS 20 conference in Phoenix, Arizona. So basically, this conference will have a wide variety of individuals coming to talk about a huge array of topics. So they'll cover like mental health, basically looking at like what it's like to live in a world with a whole bunch of like social media, look at like leadership and diversity and all of that. So since it seems like a really great cause, we allocated them $1,000. They did request $5,500, but the whole $1,000, its maximum thing, came into play.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Senator Coleman.
Yes, I don't believe they saw that there was a maximum. They just did $100 per person, so like 55 times 100, 5,500. Yeah.
Are there any other questions for the speaker? Seeing none, I'll now seek a motion on Bill 60. Senator Koger. It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 60. Carson.
Yes. All right, so this is the travel allocation to the Interfraternity Council. So they will basically be attending, or they'll be sending 9 members to attend the Association of Fraternal Leadership Values Conference. So basically, this conference really looks at topics that are really important to fraternities on campus. So it will go into topics such as like hazing, diversity, inclusion, and looking at like effective leadership strategies like within these organizations to make them as effective as possible. It mainly looks at like leadership strategies into assisting with things such as like philanthropies, community service, and things that really benefit the university that these fraternities are a part of. So in order to assist them with that, they requested $900 and we allocated them $900.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, we'll now move on to Bill 61. Is there a motion? Caucus Leader Spellman.
Oh my God.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 61. This is your last one, Carson.
Thought I was done. Okay, this is the travel allocation to the Pre-Dental Club. So they'll be sending 30 students down to Dodge City to work at the Kansas Missions of Mercy event. So basically this event looks at providing free dental care to all the residents of Dodge City, essentially. And so it gives these students a great opportunity to look at what their future careers will look like, and also really great opportunity to help out the community there. And so we allocated them $1,000 to do that.
Are there any questions on Bill 61? Okay, seeing none, can we give Carson a round of applause for just being on like 10 bills? With that, we're going to move into our second open period for the night. Are there any second open period speakers? Is that caucus leader Spellman? Okay.
Can I have everyone close your laptops real quick? Put down your phones if they're in your hands. Look at me. Raise a hands for everyone in this room that has been elected to your position. Put your hand up. For everyone that has been appointed, keep your hands up. For everyone that has been appointed to your position, put your hand up. Okay, hands down. This is a very subjective question, but if you think that you are doing your job to the best of your ability, whether you're elected or you're appointed, raise your hand. I want you all to take a look at the amount of hands that are raised in this room. This is a concern that I have had for a couple weeks now. I've had some time to process it, and that is why I am standing in front of you today. To preface, I guess, a little bit more why I'm up here, for all of the members of the Arts and Sciences Caucus, this will sound like a very familiar conversation. I am the person that called for caucus time last week. So we met for the first time as a caucus. For those that are not a member of the caucus, we have bi-weekly meetings, and I decided to hold a all caucus member meeting for last Senate. The point of concern that I brought up then is the same concern that I am up here talking about now, is that there are a lot of members in this room that will go to every single meeting, give 100% every single time, but there are there are a lot more members, a part of the caucus, a part of SGA, whatever that might be, that aren't giving 100%. And I think this should serve as a good wake-up call to everyone in this room, is that you were elected to this position. For the case of you being appointed, you were appointed for a reason, is that the student body saw potential and they saw you as being the right representative for them as a student. So I want you to take that into consideration, whether that be something as a caucus. I think there's a lot of necessary culture changes for caucus, especially for arts and sciences. Whether it's writing commendations, we set the goal of writing one commendation per senator per semester. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but very few arts and sciences members have written commendations. Whether it's something in committee, speak up, ask a question, propose legislation. There are a lot of areas of growth that SGA has, regardless of your position, and I think you should really take that into consideration moving into the second half. That being said, we only have a couple more Senate meetings for the remaining of the semester. So next week and 2 weeks from now after Thanksgiving break. So not a lot of time for this semester, but when we leave tonight's meeting, I really, really, really want you all to take into consideration the amount of work that you have done, how well you have represented all of the students that elected you into this office in the first place, and really take that thought into next semester. A couple shout outs, I guess, to end on a more positive note. I really would like to recognize Senator Pruse for the work that she has done. Senator Pruse has done a lot of work with the Arts and Sciences social media page. So she has done a phenomenal job. Very happy with her and the work that she's done on the caucus. Speaking of caucuses, Senator Burke has done a very good job with VetMed. I don't know if anyone's realized, but she is one of the few VetMed representatives that has worked in SGA for the last number of years. So fantastic work to the job that you're doing. And finally, to end on a more positive note with a committee, shout out to DEI. I see a lot of effort and a lot of potential that the work that you all are doing. We have at-large members of DEI that are sitting in this room now. They are really going out there with a lot of enthusiasm in working with both their members of their committee and student organizations outside of SGA. But that's all I have to say. I am open to any questions, and I look forward to working with you all for next semester.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Senator King.
How are you determining performance of the body? Like, what to you is a good and active
Spellman rubric is pretty high up there, so I'll give you that. To reverse the question, I guess, are you attending Senate meetings? Yes or no? Are you attending committee meetings? Yes or no? Are you being an active member of your caucus? And are you going above and beyond outside of the typical requirements of being a senator? And in my perspective, I don't believe many people are meeting that.
Are there any other questions for the speaker? Senator Snyder.
I am not a perfect senator. I'll give you that. Last year, I think was a really good example is that I was in a lot of meetings and a part of the conversation, but I was not actively engaged in the conversation. That is something that I am still working on in terms of how I am as a caucus leader and a senator and elections commissioner, but I am still working on that as well.
This is breaking parliamentary procedure, but I would say as Speaker Pro Tem and someone in a management position that I think Senator Spellman does go above and beyond and is a very good senator.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Are there any other questions for the speaker? Senator Al Abdullah.
Mm.
And that's bothering me. It does bother everyone. But thank you so much for speaking up. But that's just one of the reasons why we don't have the detention. And you know what that is.
Did you have I appreciate your statement, but did you have a question? Okay.
Are there any other questions for the speaker?
All right.
Seeing none. Are there any other speakers for a second open period? Caucus Leader Glasscock.
Hey guys, it's me. So quick update, JCOC met for the first time for the second time this morning, 7:30 a.m. We're going to be meeting 2 more times before December 1st, which is when our new updated report is due to the Senate. So what's going to happen on December 1st is, that's a Sunday, but that's just enumerated when we have to get it done by. December 1st, the afternoon, I'll email it to Hannah Heatherman, and she'll email it to you guys. It gets distributed to every member of the Student Senate. But we met this morning, went pretty well. The only senators there were me, Nathan King, and Carson, so props to you two. But so we're having 2 more meetings, and those will be next week, Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 a.m. So write those down. I encourage anyone who has opinions on that to come. Tuesday, Thursday, next week, 7:30 a.m. CSI, in CSI. What's that? Yeah, they run 7:30 to 8:30. That's in the AM.
Are there any further questions for the speaker? Senator King.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any other? Okay, keep going.
We'll talk some more. But if you really want to get up and suffer with us, set your alarms for 6:30 a.m. Earn some good senator points. We'd love to see you there. We're gonna have some pretty cool discussions next week. We're gonna make a really, really nice report for you guys. You're gonna love it. But I've talked to some people who do still have some concerns. So if you do, email me or Nathan, or come to JCOC. We'd love to see you there. Do you guys have any more questions about JCOC?
Any other questions for the speaker?
Awesome. Good night. Love you.
Okay. See you, Creighton. Okay. Next, Chief of Staff Polson.
Hi guys, so in the past hour and a half, the executive branch decided to push back legislative advocate applications to close tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. So if you are interested in being more involved in SGA and want to represent Kansas State in Topeka at the Capitol, please consider applying. It's a really great opportunity, and if you want to know more about it, there are people who have been legislative advocates in this room before. So please, please apply. Interns, this is a wonderful opportunity for you. Thanks.
Are there any questions for Chief of Staff Polson? Okay. Seeing none, are there any further second open period speakers? Chair Riffle.
Hello again. I'll be short. Just in light of like discussion on especially proof fee tonight, I just want to encourage you all to, especially if you have concerns about legislation, when it comes through an introduction, you hear about it, you have concerns about it, please do reach out to me or any member of the Privilege Fee Committee. Or if you have general questions about privilege fee at all, the functioning of it, how it works, the back end of it, please, please, please reach out to us. If you're really interested, our meetings every Monday, 6 p.m., Seaside Conference Room. We've been spending 2 hours, every week, if not more, at more meetings trying to discuss and determine these things. But we would really love to hear your concerns, thoughts about that prior to just having it here within Senate, just so that it's a lot easier to have that one-on-one conversation instead of me coming up here with a cough trying to remember it all at one point. So, great.
Are there any questions for Chair Riffle? Seeing none, any further second open period speakers? Senator Prus.
Okay, there's a lot in here, but I will go quickly because it is 9:22, right? Yes. Okay. This is tall. Okay, shout out privilege fee. Thanks for helping me understand money. Shout out to Nathan Bothwell for a really fun and engaging Kahoot last week. Let's do more Kahoots. Carson, I'm sorry, I still can't say your last name. It's really hard. Chumland. I did it. Okay, thanks / props for showing up at that 7:30 a.m. JCOC meeting this morning. Shout out to Nathan and Hannah for always keeping SGA under control. Love you guys lots. Shout out to Senator Riffle for asking very articulate, for answering very articulate and helpful questions. Good job, Donnie. Shout out to Senator Koger for asking tough questions and travel allocations. To Julia Howie for surviving a week with 4 exams. She's not here, but I can tell her. Ryan Kelly for always being so generous. Shout out to Julia and Lily for their hard work with outreach, curriculum, and community building in the intern program. We love interns. To Bryn Carlson, first team academic all-district honoree, which is a GPA and athletic performance award that's like across the Big 12, I believe, so that's like a really big deal. To Speaker Heatherman for getting #cuffed this week, #cuffing season. DEI keep doing fantastic work, and I've always been impressed with their enthusiasm. Keep it up. Shout out to Senator Ochsner for the hot haircut, #spicy. Thanks to Hannah Heatherman for her leadership, communication, and her smile. Go Cats. Andrew Booz, first you reformed elections, then you reformed my heart. Will you go to prom with me? CG. I don't know who wrote that. Oh, Creighton? That was really good. I really liked that. Say yes. Tell for growing out his beard so hot, spelled HAWT winky face. Oh, too much. Yeah, you're welcome. I didn't write that, Tell. Come on. Shout out to Jeff Ebeck and Ashley Grills, 2 BA interns. Filtered. Shout out to Bailey Clark for always speaking his mind, even when his opinions are not popular. To John Mulaney, go watch his Netflix specials. So I guess that's like shameless John Mulaney plug, go watch his Netflix specials. Nate Bothwell for getting me involved with SGA and out of my comfort zone. Also, Donnie Riffle, Privilege Fee Chair, for introducing me to the Privilege Fee Committee. Shout out to Tell for that incredible beard. Okay, I wrote this one, I'll say it. Shout out to Bronte and Kathleen for making it to phase 2 for interns. I am a proud Wildcat warm-up counselor mom. That was from Sam Bond, cute. Okay, that's all I have for this week. Thanks, guys.
Are there any further speakers for second open period? Okay, if not, I kind of have a short follow-up from kind of Senator Spellman's earlier. That is that, like, I understand that we're all busy and that we all have lives going on, but we did set some goals and things at the beginning of the year, and I'd love to see like a lot of like intrinsic effort working on achieving those goals. Sometimes it's really frustrating as someone in like a leadership and management position that it feels like I have to take things onto myself, because when I try to delegate, those things don't end up happening. And I think like the commendation thing is a really great example of just like a small little thing that like you can do in SGA that like really makes someone's day. So actually 2 weeks ago it was now, I wrote a commendation to the Gotchison Stamey Teaching Award winners. Those are like awards that are passed out in the College of Arts and Sciences for like professors and advisors that just like go above and beyond. It's a yearly award. A professor, like my favorite political science professor, actually won the Stamey Teaching Award this year, which was really exciting. So that was why I wrote that commendation. So I wrote it. What my job is to like mail them out afterwards. So I mailed out all these commendations. And last night on Twitter, that professor of mine actually posted it. And it's gotten like over 90 likes by this point. And then she said, like she was super honored to like just like receive a little notice from SGA and stuff. Last spring, Senator Hines wrote one to the KSU Rodeo Club that was posted on their Instagram account that also was them like being like really happy and stuff. And honestly, like I maybe should do a better job on my end of like forwarding these things onto you, but I email like a lot of things out. So like President Myers, the provost, and people like that who are like, kind of like the indirect recipients of a lot of things. And all of them always email back. Like they're always so excited, so happy. I know Dean Chakrabarty in the College of Arts and Sciences always sends long messages about like how much it means to him and things like that. And so this is just like a reminder that like the work that we do like in this body and in this room really does mean something to like, the rest of campus and those people out there. Like even if it takes like 15, 20 minutes of your time on a weekend to like sit down and like write a piece of legislation, like that can mean the world to like your fellow students, your peers, professors, faculty members. So I really do encourage you all, like, I know that the first step is often the hardest part, like not knowing like how to begin to like do some of the work that we do. There's so many moving parts in SGA, but like I will always make time for anyone in this room who like has any questions about anything. So if you want to get started, like come ask me. Like I'm going to specifically shout out interns. Like if you like want to go above and beyond as an intern, like I would challenge you to do that. Like I was, intern coordinator last year and I love seeing interns get involved, but like I challenge you to like be better than some of the senators. Like I think that'd be really cool to see interns talk more than some senators. And senators, don't let them beat you. Like that's the other thing. So I know that like, we're kind of in that phase of the year where like it's November, like it's cold, like, we're all getting tired. There's tests, there's papers, things like that. I totally understand. But like, remember that like you're in this room for a reason, like you ran for this position for a reason. And so like, let's like do the work that's like involved for that. Cause I would love to be like the Senate that like goes above and beyond than what previous years have done. So I'll stand for any questions that anyone has about that stuff. And like I said, my door like is always open. Shoot me an email, shoot me a text, and I'm always happy to help anyone in this room. So any questions? Okay, seeing none, with that, we're gonna move into our second roll call for the night with Sadie.
Al Abdullah, Almadani, Beasley, Belina, Betancourt, Bond, Booz, Bowers, Burke, Carlson, Carr, Clark, Clements, Coggeshall, Colasico, Cruz, Dowd, Frederick, Gallardo.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. That was my bad. I skipped that. Everything, so 50 through 61 is all getting referred to travel.
All right, Gilliland King, Gillespie, Glasscock, Hamlin, Hines, Huffman, Jabin, Jonak, Kelly, Kerperin, Kidd, King, Koger, Kurzweil, Coleman, Lomshek, Lux, Matos, Meinhardt, Oxner, Orzakowski, Pelton, Peyton, Phillips, Bruce, Rivera, Rodriguez, Reichert, Seidel, Slichter, Smith, Snyder Ben, Snyder Blaine, Spellman, Wallace, Ward Kelly, Ward Shalen, Watkins, Whitmer, Zimmerman.
Okay, with that, I'll now be seeking a motion to adjourn. Senator Koger. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we'll meet back next week.